Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Morgan, and I bid you all welcome on behalf of World of Piranha Bytes, where we are covering ELEX's brand new website this morning. So there's a lot of new content on the website that is very exciting, and I am joined by my friend
Melodic from World of Players.
So we're just going to have a brief discussion on what we found on the website so far. So shall we start with the short little mood video, as it were?
Of course.
So this is just the little video clip that plays in the background of the website as you're scrolling down, and it mostly pans over a few areas that we've seen before, but also gives us a glimpse at the desert area, which we have not seen too much of so far. And that's kind of what appeals to me the most. It looks absolutely massive, and it kind of gives me an impression of games like Borderlands, for example.
Yeah, it's really great. It is very, very atmospheric. And I especially like the feeling of each area. It is distinct, and that's something amazing.
Yeah, so I think they've definitely gotten the atmosphere and the setting down pretty pat. I think there's going to be a lot of variety, and I don't know how unique it'll be, but it will certainly be immersive if this is any indication, so I'm pretty excited.
Me too. It is really, really exciting.
Alright, so apart from that, the website also does have features on each of the factions in the game and a lot of details on the story. So as we scroll down, we're going to take a look at each of these entries in turn. So one of the factions that we have known about is the so-called Bandit faction, which are now apparently officially being referred to as Outlaws. The Outlaws in Tavar, a rocky desert wasteland. Tavar is home to the Outlaws, scavenging the ruins for weapons and equipment. The Outlaws will worship no god. They will not pledge themselves to the strict laws of the Berserkers, nor surrender to a life of emotionless conflict. With a meteor came a chance for freedom, choice, a world where anyone can rise to the top. The Outlaws live by the motto that a life may be brutal, but it's free and easy, and that all shall be rewarded for their strengths.
That's basic capitalism, right there.
In essence, yeah, survival of the fittest, both in a literal and, I suppose, economic sense. It seems that they have the most straightforward lifestyle. It's just sort of a composed anarchy. Everyone's just kind of out for themselves, and there's no specific laws to govern how you treat each other. It's just really, do what you think is best for you, and damn the rest.
It is the old formula of rust punk. We can see industrial structures over there in the back, and also a lot of scrap. And this looks really well. It is the Mad Max formula, and it worked great in Mad Max, and it should work great over here.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. Just a sort of black market for just about everything. And hey, I suppose if you can't buy it, then you've got a chance to steal it. So, and that seems to fit in with our lifestyle quite well. So, this might appeal to me more than the others. All right, next entry is in regards to the Berserkers in Edan. Wiping the planet clean, the meteor has given the people of Magallan a chance. The world can be regrown again. Having found a way to transmute ELEX into pure mana, the Berserkers are transforming Magallan's shattered wastes into lush, living woodland.
Lush.
Where the elves bring destruction, the Berserkers offer true hope. As magic replaces technology, Magallan shall offer all its people a future. Now, so far,
Vikings. Vikings.
A little bit, but they also seem like sort of glorified belligerent hippies in a way. The Berserkers so far have been the most, I think, controversial faction in this game, because no one's fully understood why exactly they choose to live the lifestyle that they do with all the technology available to the people. And so far the main excuse has simply been that they regard all technology as evil. So, I still don't quite understand why that's the case, because none of the technological advancements on the world of Magallan have really been to blame for this apocalypse. It was all just a freak incident with the meteor strike. But
well, you know how people are. In every country, we have people who complain that the new society with its technologies leading us all to our downfall, and this is exactly the same thing over here.
And I suppose it also plays into their outright sort of spite towards the substance of ELEX that is being abused by the technologically advanced factions such as the Alps and the Clerics.
I think they got really fed up with Twitter before the apocalypse, and that they just wanted to distance themselves from social media.
Social media, all these vanity projects of the 21st century, I guess.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on, we have an entry on the Clerics in Ignadon. The site of the meteor's impact, Ignadon, is riven by constant volcanic activity. Thought to be devoid of life, Ignadon was a perfect hiding place for the Clerics to grow in power. Followers of the god Kalin, the Clerics see the consumption of ELEX in any form as a sin. Instead, they use ELEX to power their machines. Guardians of Magallan's technology, the Clerics put their faith in Kalin, plasma weapons, mechs, and the power of industry. From the ashes shall arise a new Magallan even more advanced than before. So, the vibe I get from this area actually is a lot like, I guess the ending in Risen 3, the final island there. See a lot of really intense volcanic activity, a lot of ruined, dilapidated
and
buildings.
Also dragons.
Yeah, apparently some horrifying winged, probably fire-breathing creatures.
I wonder if we can ride them into battle.
I am sure they don't have the budget for that. So I guess this is where the Clerics have decided to make their birth, and, it would probably have a major impact on the morale of their civilization, because if your oppressors are so willing to live in an area like that, then they're probably pretty tough and can take care of you if you just do what they say.
True. It's also really atmospheric, this place. I can't wait to visit it, honestly.
I think this is going to be a really fun place to try and explore with a jetpack. Anyway, moving on. The final faction, which so far it has been my understanding that you can never actually join them, but because they're such a major player in the global conflict, they have their own entry as well. The Alps in Zarkor. Where the meteor destroyed, it also gave the people of Magallan their future, ELEX. Harnessing its power for technology is only the start. By consuming pure ELEX, all the people of Magallan can be stronger, think clearer, and free from emotion. Driven, focused from their base in the mountains of Zarkor, the Alps are reaching out to conquer Magallan. They claim that all ELEX is theirs by right. The Alps are sure that only strength can save, and the weak must be sacrificed for Magallan to survive.
Well, it's improper to say that you can't join the Alps, because you start as an Alp. The newest information on the website says that. And being deprived of consuming the ELEX, you start to have feelings and grow conscience, and therefore you can make all the original choices a normal human being could make. My first thought when I saw this artwork was that it really reminds me of the guys from Prometheus, the engineers. And this is what their planet looks like in my head. That's what I thought from the first moment I saw those engineer ships and engineer technology in Prometheus. And it looks amazing. It's my favorite artwork from the series.
Yeah, so far I'm quite impressed with it. I never saw the movie Prometheus, but I do like the sort of stark contrast between the futuristic technology and industry playing at work against the just absolutely hostile forces of nature. And it seems like the elves are going to be a pretty big player in the whole ordeal going on the planet here.
I honestly can't wait to put on the backpack, the jetpack, jump into that train and see where it leads me, deep below in the mines.
So further down on the main website, there's a couple more entries. A lot of it is just your standard promotional sort of press release kind of material, but there is a quick entry on the I guess sort of a prologue to the story, telling us how it gets started. Being raised as an alb and fed pure ELEX to strengthen your body and be set free from emotion, you lived in a world of cold logic and military discipline. Set to rise through the ranks, a scourge to your enemies, your destiny seemed sure. Now, as the smoke rises over the wreckage of your glider in the mountains of Edan, you are trapped far from Zarkor, with no access to pure ELEX. You are experiencing emotions for the first time in your life. Stranded among your enemies, outcast from your people, you must find a new course. You must decide how your life can decide the fate of the world. So, yeah, it seems like the Alps, for whatever sort of antagonistic role they seem to play, it seems like they think they're doing the right thing. But it's actually the comparisons between them and the clerics are pretty amusing in a way. It seems like they kind of have... Actually, the comparisons between the Alps and just about everybody else. I think the Berserkers are where they share almost no common ground, but their, technological advancements and sort of rigid military kind of fanaticism is very similar to that of the clerics, while the sort of philosophy that only the strong will survive is actually very similar to the outlaws, I think.
Yeah, and fun fact, alb comes from Latin, and it basically means white, like, bino. And they pretty much remind me of the White Walkers in Game of Thrones, because they are just those assholes who want to go and kill everybody and conquer everybody.
Yeah, it seems that way. And of course, they come from the absolutely, frigid, inhospitable lands far to the north. So maybe there's more comparisons to be made there than we think.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. So moving on to the next artwork, that looks like a huge drones, and the player seems to tackle them with pretty much balls of steel.
Get balls of steel and looks like a chintzy little sword, and for some reason does not seem to think to use the axe strapped to his back.
Maybe it's something in my mind, but that red part of the drone looks pretty much like a
I guess if we're...
I think it's a pretty common theme in sci-fi. Oblivion was banned for this, and so was Alien when it first started, so... I think they are going in the right direction with this.
Well, apart from that, I do wonder what exactly these boulder drones, what kind of role they seem to play in here. I'm assuming these are sort of like sentries or something of the sort sent out by the Alps. So it seems like what we've seen so far, it makes it look like their oppression is pretty much global. And actually, it reminds me a lot of an anime I watched called Ergo Proxy, where the people trying to survive outside of the major civilizations controlled by the oppressors, which in this case would be the Alps, were constantly being harassed by sort of automated sentries that were being sent out on a regular basis, and it just kind of became a way of life, trying to either escape or destroy these hostile sentries every time they popped up.
Same thing was in the movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise,
which I did not watch. But anyway, moving on, we really have a lot of screenshots which mostly show a lot of things that we've seen before. But one of the more consistent features seems to be the Berserker faction, which is the only faction we've really seen rendered on a regular basis. And I guess you can really tell who they are by the fact that they're all wearing outfits that actually look very similar to the Demon Hunters in Risen 3, I think.
Yeah, and if you look at the bottom screenshot with the Berserker, they look like Demon Hunters, like Dragon Hunters in a Gothic village, which is really nice. It has that feeling which I failed to find in Risen 2 or Risen 3. This looks really amazing, and I'm really excited for this game.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see the contrast between the very old vintage-looking cottages and these hard and stoic medieval warriors, and the very alien-looking backgrounds, which, to me, honestly, kind of harken a little bit to Morrowind and a little bit to the Shivering Isles expansion of The Elder Scrolls 4. So the contrast, I think, will be one of the most striking features in the aesthetic design of this game.
Also, if you look at the second from bottom screenshot, the desert looks huge, and it has a really nice feeling to it. It reminds me a bit of Night of the Raven, the expansion for Gothic 2. And I can't wait to kill people over there.
Well, it's a shame that I don't think drivable vehicles will be in this game, because that looks like it would be a lot of fun to Mad Max all over that place.
Well, they said they might be. There might be some vehicles which you can drive.
Really?
Yeah. At the beginning of the promotion for ELEX, when we first asked them questions, we asked them if there will be cars. And they gave a pretty weird answer, from which I deduced there might be some vehicles.
Well, the impression I got is that the jetpack is the only alternative mode of transportation based on the answers that I've seen from them, but we'll see. Maybe they've got a surprise in store. Alright, well, apart from that, most of these screenshots are pretty straightforward for a lot of people to, just admire the scenery going on in the background. We do see the mech again in one of these, which, the mechs seem to pop up in pretty random locations. I'm kind of curious how exactly they're organized, but supposedly they are the enemy that are sort of being used as a gateway to make sure that you don't access areas that are far beyond your level.
They're basically the snappers in ELEX.
Or shadow beasts.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, just making sure you don't step beyond your means too soon.
Also, the characters look really, really good. They looked horrible in those pre-alpha videos, and I'm sure Piranha Bytes was really upset that they got out on the internet. But now, all I can see is that they made huge improvements over Risen 3 when it comes to character design, and I'm really happy about it.
So far, yes, but we also see that a lot of these characters don't have hair, so it remains to be seen how well they pull that off, because just designing hair has always been a problem for that developer, I think. Just having really rubbery looking meshes, or just saying screw it and making everybody bald.
A smart choice. In a post-apocalyptic world, you cannot be bothered by lice.
Or just hair getting in your eyes, I guess. I think post-apocalypse, I think razors will probably be a high-demand black market item.
Oh, they could score some brownie points by showing post-apocalyptic characters with dandruff. We never see those, not even in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, see, no one really takes into account all these day-to-day problems we have to put up with, and how terrible they would be to deal with in a post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
But maybe someday we'll get somebody with that kind of consideration. But for now, I'm actually quite excited to see what more they have to offer us. And in fact, the roleplay convention should bring us some new insights, I think.
We'll keep you up to date. We have some representatives over there, and they are bound to give us some new materials like screenshots, videos, interviews, and just subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with everything.
Indeed, and until then, we thank you all very kindly for watching. This has been Morganon and Maladik on behalf of World of Piranha Bytes, and we will see you all next time. Thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful night.